designs. And I'm hoping that this is relaxing and the beginning of a new journey for me. Actually, I've never thought that I'd be making an ASMR video. I'm like more of a photographer, like more of a hobby photographer, or part-time freelancer, if you will. So sometimes I do get requests for various kinds of photography jobs, but I've never thought I'd really go into videography. I mean, I had the chance to record a few projects, like a project at uni from a friend who's like what do you call it? He's like a moderator or a voice actor, or at least that's what he was studying. And I helped him with his graduation project. And funnily enough, like 1 or 2 years later, we did film or record a short film together. Actually 2 short films, but the first one was like with another old friend from school. He's gone to like an actor's school, or he studies acting, and the second short film was like a project of mine in which the voice actor friend played the main role, so to speak. But since then, this videography thing fell asleep, or I put it on ice, if you can say that in English. By the way, if my pronunciation or my English is, as you would say it in German, not the yellow from the egg, like a German English inside joke. English is not my mother language, it's German, but I thought I'd record this in English. This has a few reasons. The first one is I do really like English, I enjoy speaking it. I need it daily. English is English takes up a good part of my life, if you can say that. And I thought I'd record my ASMR videos. Excuse me. In English, because I don't want to lose my English skills, so it's like use it or lose it kind of thing. As a good friend of mine puts it, either you use and practice your skills, or you lose them over time. So this is a good a chance to practice my skills in English and get comfortable speaking it. I mean, I read a lot in English. I do remember most words and phrases, but unfortunately I don't speak it that often, as German is my mother language and or my mother tongue, and I don't need it that often, or I don't need the English spoken word that often. Actually, I've got a few things right next to me, and I think I'm going to show you what I've got there, and let's talk about that. I don't want to ramble nonsense or like uninteresting things about my mildly interesting life. So let's talk about film, like film for analog cameras. I've got there a little green container which is filled with 5 film canisters. I hope you can see it. This is kind of new to me, this recording and everything, so I've got to test my setup and hopefully over time things will improve. But every beginning is hard, as you would say. But back to the topic. There are 5 film canisters, and I actually don't know what I've put inside. It's been a while since I used the last film. But let's have a look and take out the first one. So, like, this is a Kodak black and white film. Exposure is not great. No, and the camera won't focus as usual because it's probably too dark, or my face is in the way. Yeah, I know you can't see anything. I'm going to adjust it later on, or in the next couple of videos. So this is like Kodak 400DX black and white negative film. And if you don't know anything about film, there are like a few big global players in film manufacturing, and one of them is Kodak. Another one is Fujifilm, and there are a few other brands like Ilford and Agfa, but I think Agfa got bought out, and actually I don't know what the new name of Agfa is. Excuse me. So Kodak was like the biggest manufacturer of film stock, and actually I do think they still are, but the thing is, in the early 2000s digital cameras took over, and I mean it's 2024, you know the deal. Everything went digital, and what was once a lucrative is now like a niche for a few enthusiasts. So like there is still a lot of analog photography done around the world, but significantly less than what would have been the standard in 1995 or in the 80s or something like that. So still a film is still produced, but it's gone. Its prices have gone way up. They aren't cheap anymore, and there is like a production bottleneck because Kodak almost went out of business because they only produced, or quite literally only produced film. They did a few other things as well, but their trump card, so to speak, was film, and since then they've recovered a little bit, and they announced that they would begin to increase the production of film. But the demand for film got a lot higher the last few years because of like this retro or analog trend. So a lot of people, younger people want to experience another kind of photography, or like the old ways of photography, and so the demand for film has gone up significantly. Yeah, film photography ain't cheap. It's not only that you pay for a film canister, it's also that you pay for developing your film if you don't do it yourself, and even then you need to buy the chemicals for the development process. So it's actually way cheaper to buy a digital camera and use it as much as possible than to buy an old cheap analog camera and use it to the same extent, because literally every exposure, every photo that you want to take costs money. Once you've got your digital camera and your SD card and your RAW converter or editing software or whatever, it's way cheaper. You only pay once for your digital camera, and as long as your SD card works, you don't pay anything. So yeah, digital photography has taken over the world, and that won't change anytime soon. And even for photographers like me with like a real, so to speak, real camera, the world has changed because now everything got a smartphone and you can snap a picture anytime you want. So photography has changed a lot in the last 10 to 20 years. Yeah. So here the 400 DX black and white film. Yeah, you can see it. You may be wondering, what does the number mean? And the number is like the ISO of the film, like the film speed. You've got to understand that in order to take an exposure or to take a photo on film, you've got to adjust your aperture and your shutter speed. So you adjust how much light enters through the lens like the sensitivity of the film. So like 400 is like 2 by 2 is 2 stops more sensitive than the standard speed, or like the today's standard speed or standard sensitivity of 100 ISO. In photography, you calculate the amount of light you need in stops. So one stop, more or less, is like, or is 2 times more or less light. So if I want to take a picture at 400 ASA with certain settings, and then I change the film after it's been fully used, and change it to a speed of 800 ISO, I've now can take the same picture, but with like half the shutter speed, or like one stop of aperture lower. Like if you shoot a picture in a controlled setting at like 400 ISO with a shutter speed of 1/25 and aperture of f2, in order to achieve the same exposure on an 800 ISO film, you've either got to open up the aperture to f1.4, or you gotta half the shutter speed to 1/125. So this is a full stop, double or half the shutter speed, or one full stop of aperture, or like double or half the ISO number. I mean, if you know anything about photography, this will be nothing new, but I kind of wanted to explain what's up with the number on these films. Yeah, this is a black and white film, so no color, and you've got 36 exposures on this roll. So let's look over our canister and look at what other films we've got here. So this is a Kodak Portra 800, and as you might have guessed, I hope you can see anything. Maybe I can adjust it in post. This one is an ISO 800 film. That's why it's called Portra 800. And it's a color film, so it's got like 3 layers. One green layer. Is it green? One red, green, and blue. So one layer of green, one layer of red, and one layer of blue, and another layer that prevents reflections from the back of the film. But maybe I shouldn't explain complex topics like what is how the color film is made up in this video, when I've done literally no research before it. I do know most of the things from top of my head, because I did learn a few things about film and analog photography, but I think I won't be your analog photography teacher, or you shouldn't take everything I said for like the truth. Take everything I say with a little bit, with a little grain of salt. Yeah, Portra 800 is like my favorite it's a film for portraits, but there is one that has quite the reputation in the analog photography, and that's, maybe you can see it this time. Let's have a look. Yeah, it's too dark, but you can see it there. It's Portra 400. It's an 400 ISO film. It's a color film, and it's regarded as one of the best, one of the finest portrait films out there. So it's got a cult following, so to speak. 36 exposures as usually standard, and one thing I find interesting about this film is a lot of people will say you've got to overexpose this film like one stop to get real nice colors out of this film. Actually, I've got to admit this is my first and only roll of Portra 400 because no store or no store near my location seems to sell Portra 400, or maybe they are always out of stock when I do buy film. So this is my first and only roll of Portra 400. I've never shot this before, and I'm looking forward to it, but actually I won't be able to shoot a lot of film the next few months because it is quite expensive and I don't have much time at the moment for analog photography, which bothers me a little bit, but I've got a lot of other things going on. So let's get to the next film in this canister. It's, who would have guessed, another Portra. This time it's, maybe, can you see anything? I don't know. It's Portra 160, and it's like Portra 400 and 800, nice portrait film. So the thing about, what is a portrait film? It's like they give nice, lively skin tones, and the colors of the film are regarded as pleasing to the eye. One thing I didn't mention actually, in digital photography you've got a thing called white balance. So you can set your camera to a certain white balance to get the colors right. Digital cameras can adjust, or your camera in your smartphone will adjust the colors according to the white balance it calibrates itself to. So like white balance is measured in Kelvin, but not like Kelvin for temperature, but for color temperature. It goes like 2700 Kelvin up to like 10,000 Kelvin, and usually daylight has a color temperature of 5600 Kelvin. So in daylight, white is at 5600 Kelvin. So light has a color. It's either more yellowy or more white. So if a color is yellow or more orangey, that means the color temperature is lower and it has already emits less blue light. And film does have a kind of white balance, but it's analog. You can't adjust it on the fly like a digital system can. You have to adjust for it beforehand. So if you know you're going to shoot in certain light situations, like in situations where the sunlight, or the light in general, not the sunlight, is more yellow or orangish. Can you say orangish? It's more yellow or orange. You can use a tungsten film balanced for lower color temperature. So you either got your daylight film, which is mostly balanced to 5600 Kelvin, around that, or your tungsten films. Let me have a look if I've got a tungsten film with me. If you shoot black and white, the color temperature usually doesn't matter. Obviously, there is no color, but color does matter to an extent in black and white photography. You can use certain filters to manipulate certain shades of black, white and gray, but that's a topic for another time. So I'm looking through my film stocks here. I thought I'd have a tungsten film. Oh, there is one. This is a super interesting film. It's called, maybe you can see it. It's called the Film 400. Actually, is it called? I'm not sure what's up with that. It's called the Film 500D. So like 500 stands for 500 ISO and D stands for tungsten. What's interesting about this film is not only is it a tungsten film, it's like a motion picture film, which is usually used in, you guessed it, motion picture productions, so like in the cinema field. The thing is, if I remember correctly, usually most films are shot on Super 35, which is half as large as full frame or 35mm film. So I don't know how many productions are usually shot in 35mm film. Still to this day, a lot of movies are shot on film. The thing is, I know this is like motion picture film reused as photography film. So the endless rolls of motion picture film are cut up in certain sections of film and put in these canisters to be used as photography film. Yeah, it's got 36 exposures and a DX code of 400, which is a little bit irritating to me because it says 500D, but maybe, I'm not sure about the DX codes. I know you can use them with certain cameras or more modern analog cameras, but actually I've got got to do a bit of research on this film. I've got this in like an Christmas calendar, Advent calendar, if that's the word. I've ordered from Hong Kong, I think, from Camera Film Photo. That's the name of the company. They sell mostly films, but also other kinds of gear to be used in analog photography. And this was one of the films that was in there. The thing is, this is my only roll of this particular film. As you can see, I haven't shot it or used it yet, because I'm not sure if my lab that I usually send my film to be developed can process this film, because it's like the easy end to process to develop this film. So normally it would be C41 as we've seen, but I'm not sure. I've got to find that out sometime, but I've got loads of other rolls of film there, and as I said, I don't have the time at the moment for film photography. If you're wondering what I'm looking at when I'm not looking in the camera, I've got my mic right here, so let me show it to you. So I hope you don't mind if I look sometimes at the microphone to make sure I'm not too close to it. Yeah, it's really weird to be sitting in front of the camera for the first time in like, I don't know, months, years. Yeah, as I see with almost hit the 35-minute mark, I hope I can upload this video. I don't even know, but I'll try. So, I guess I'll stop at around 40 minutes. Let's have a look at a few more films, but a little bit faster to close out this video. One of my favorite films is Data 3200. It's like an high ISO black and white film, and I shot quite a few rolls of it, and one time I pushed it and one time I pulled it, so you like can over or underexpose a film, which is called pulling if you underexpose it, and pushing if you underexpose it, it's called pushing, and if you overexpose it, it's called pulling, I think, or maybe I got mixed it up. But you don't always have to shoot film on like the ISO that is standard. Some films are often over or underexposed, and what I like about Ilford films is oftentimes you even get like a quick what do you call it? A quick overview, which how much exposure the film can take before it is basically useless. So like Ilford always, or Ilford discloses how much you can push or pull their film, and it gives really 6400 ISO, you get far more grain and far more contrast in your picture. And if you pull it to like 1600 ISO, you get way less contrast and a bit less of grain. But I do like the pictures with 1600 ISO or 1600 ISO. So let me have a look what we've got there. There is a new one I bought like in summer, but I haven't shot it yet, and it's NC Color 500. It's from Wolfen, which I'm not 100% sure about it, but either it's another. What was that? I do hope my lights don't fall on me. I got to adjust the lights for the next video. Usually I like this light setup, but it's a little bit too far behind me, so you can see there isn't as much light hitting my face as I would like, but maybe this look is mysterious enough to pull a few people in. Who knows? Yeah, I'm not sure if Wolfen is like the modern Agfa or not, but I do think Wolfen is a little bit longer around than it seems. So this is also a color negative film, 36 exposures with an ISO of 500. Alright, let's do one or two more. Let's make it 3. I've got 1, 2, 3, and the first one is Fujifilm. It's Fujifilm Acros 102. This is like one of the best black and white films out there. At least that's what most of the people said in the internet, and I haven't shot it yet. But my plan is to shoot this raw film and then to compare it to the photos I've shot with a Fujifilm X Pro 2, which got like the Acros film simulation, so like the JPEG or the picture of the pictures of the X Pro 2 are processed to look like actual film, like Acros film. And I do think the X Pro 2 has the Acros simulation like Acros 102, like this film here, as I've shown you. Yeah. The thing is, it's not the original film that was popular back in the day. It's like the second version, and I'm not 100% sure, but I also think it's not even the first version of 102. So I'm kind of curious how this little project will turn out. But let's see what we've got there. Oh, maybe a little trigger. I'm not a person I'm not comfy with triggers and tapping and everything. I'm more like a show and tell and rambling person. So I do hope you don't mind that I won't tap on everything or like try to make ASMR triggers with everything here lying around. soft-spoken ASMR myself, mostly, and I do think that's what I'm going to do mostly, so I hope you don't mind, or I hope you enjoy whispering and show and tell. So this one is quite a nice film. It's a Fujifilm or a Fujicolor. It's, can you see it? Superior. Fujifilm Superior 200. Only 24 exposures, which is a kind of a bummer, but it is what it is. And yeah, ISO of 200 is alright. The thing is, if you do a little bit of research, it turns out, or there is like a rumor that Fujifilm Superior 200 is kind of the same, or the same as Kodak 200. Let me have a look if I have Kodak 200 here. I'm not sure. It could be, but I could be wrong too. So many films. Yeah, there it is. Rumors have it that the modern Fujifilm 200 is the exact same as the Kodak 200. Oh, I hope I'm getting used to this one day. I gotta change my light setup, honestly. Yeah, it also got only 24 exposures and the same ISO speed, and some people have done a little bit of testing, and it looks like it could actually be quite the same film, but with a different name and a different brand. So I'm hopefully going to find out myself one day. But actually, the Fujifilm 200 ISO I've shown you is probably an old one, and it's probably expired. I acquired this recently from a friend of mine who gave me his old analog photo gear, and there were two films, a Kodak and a Fujifilm, that were unused, and I'm not sure about the Fuji, but the Kodak is expired. That I could confirm. I'll show you the Kodak as the last film for the day. Then I've actually got to go to bed because it's getting late. Let me have a little sip. I'm a bit thirsty. Oh. Nice. So this is like Kodak 200. There is like it's inside this little paper box, and it says Kodak Farbwelt Classic 200 ISO 36 Aufnahmen. Yeah, it's like ISO 200, as I've just said, 36 exposures and C41 process. So what's the deal? It's expired, as I said, so I'll show you the box. Kodak Farbwelt Classic 236 Aufnahmen. And there are a few things to note here. One is there is a price tag on this box. Maybe you can see it. Actually, I'm not sure, but it says €4.20. Like, not even €5. This was like, I'm not 100% sure when this film was sold, but maybe this could be a little hint to this riddle. It says copyright Kodak 2002, so I guess it's it was sold in the early 2000s, and the expiry date is October 2010, as you can see here. I hope you can see it. So, this film, this roll of film, is expired for, or has been expired for 14 years. Why does film expire? Actually, I'm not 100% sure myself what or why it does degrade, but the thing is, it's chemicals. Most chemicals, or most mixtures of chemicals do expire, not because they're suddenly gone, but because they react to the surroundings. It's either, or often it's oxygen, or maybe it's moisture. So the layers of chemicals, I guess it will be mostly the silver oxide, will degrade over time, and you still can use this film and process it. So gotta develop a bit negative. But the thing about this is, oftentimes the colors are way off and it looks a bit funky, so you get interesting pictures out of it. Some people do like this, but it's always a gamble. So it could be like a bottle of aged wine, could be a fine wine, or could taste horrendous. Some people do search for expired film and shoot with it and do a little bit of experimental analog photography, and others will avoid to shoot with expired film, but I'll keep this film, and I'll probably shoot this in early 2025. I hope I'm in for a treat. I'm curious, really curious. I've got a few more films next to me, but I do think this video is long enough, and maybe I'll show him next time or in another video. I hope you enjoyed, and please let me know what you think and leave a bit of feedback, mostly about sound quality, audio quality, and I know light setup, I'm working on it, but let me know what you think, give me a little bit of feedback, and I do hope we'll see us next time. And until then, what is my outro? What can I say? Stay put, and can you say stay put? I don't even know. Have a nice day, have a nice night, and until next time, Mia out.